speaker, Stephen Hollingsworth. A jar full. A jar full. Stephen Hollingsworth.
When I was in kindergarten, my teacher told us that anyone that could spell their full name would get to go on a trip to an amusement park. Now, most of my classmates had simple names like John Smith or Betty Brown. I had the beginnings of a simple name, Stephen. But Hollingsworth? That looked like 50 miles of bad road to me. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests, I wanted to go on that trip. So I studied. And I got it right. I got my name right. I got my name right. I get to go on the trip. As you can see, I was pretty excited. I rushed off the bus and handed my parents the permission slip, which told about the trip, and the mere cost was only $20. My parents looked at each other, and sadness filled their faces. See, I had forgotten that my father had been laid off, and my mother was a homemaker, and all the money that was coming into the house was from odd jobs that my father could find some days. I had also forgotten that I was the oldest of 4 kids, and any money that we had, we used for necessities. My trip wasn't a necessity. It was a hope. When I realized that we could not afford to send me on that trip, I just walked away. Oh, I was sad, but I understood. My mother walked to the spice cabinet. She reached in the back and pulled out a jar with the word hope written on it. She took off the lid and she counted out $20 in bills and coins and gave it to me. She told me, son, don't ever lose your hope. On my wedding day, my mother actually gave me that jar as a wedding gift. And I had just the place for it. I put it in the back of my closet. I didn't even bother to look in it. But I didn't realize how much I would need that hope until last year. See, my wife and I were expecting a child, and I was excited. The pregnancy was going along perfectly. And then my daughter decided that she would come a little early to see her handsome father. But the doctors assured us that everything was going to be all right. And in the delivery room, I just couldn't wait to hear her first cry. But when she was born, there was no crying. Oh, the room was filled with noises, but it was coming from panicking nurses and doctors that were drastically trying to save my little girl's life. You see, she wasn't breathing. And there was no signs of life coming from her body. And at that moment, I began to think, I might not ever get to hear her cry or see her smile. I might not get to watch her as she crawled across the floor or ever hear her say, Daddy. At that very moment, I thought I might not get to shed a tear as I walked her down the aisle on her wedding day. I closed my eyes, and as the tears fell, I whispered up a prayer. And my little girl responded. The doctors were completely stunned at how quickly she recovered. And no matter what test they gave her, she passed them with flying colors. The hopes of a father were realized on that day. When we took her home, I was putting away some of her things, and I happened to see my mother's hope jar. I finally took it down, and I looked in it, and she had placed a few dollars and a note inside. The note said, "Son, I love you. Never lose your hope, because this jar might empty, but your heart never will." So many years ago, my mother's hope jar had made my dreams come true. It wasn't the money for the trip that did it. It was the love that she showed for me that came from her real hope jar, her heart. And when my daughter was struggling for life, I believe my heart opened up, and the love and hope from it is what allowed my daughter to see her first day. These days, so many of us have allowed our hope jars to empty. We've allowed our happiness to be replaced with despair, and our dreams have been replaced with real nightmares. So do we quit? Do we give up on everything that we've always wanted in life? Do we allow others to deflate our hopes and talk us out of our dreams? Barbara Kingsolver said, "The very least you can do in life is figure out what it is that you hope for. And the very most you can do is to live inside that hope. Not admire it from a distance, but to live right inside it, under its roof." Hope is the thing that changes impossible situations into miracles that can never be explained. When I look into my children's eyes, I see hope. When I think about the sacrifices of my parents, I feel their hope and their dreams for me. And when I think about my future and all of the possibilities, I feel hopeful. Here is my hope jar. Where did you stash yours, Madam Toastmaster?